All right, let me continue. So I said something about objects, that for objects we are describing one thing in detail, while for array we are listing many things together. So for arrays we list many things together, then for objects we describe one thing in detail. Another thing I said last week, another thing we discussed last week about objects is that they exist in key value pairs. Alright, so I will write a code example to illustrate what we have discussed so far, then we'll push it from there. Okay, so let me comment out these 2 lines. Good. Alright, so we said last week we talked about how to create object, and we did something like this. To create the user object, we said we'll do that if we do something like this, let user is equal to empty curly braces, that's we have created an empty object. So, and we said that the properties of an object exist in key value pairs. So let's say we want to describe the user has a name, and let's say the name is Joseph. He has a name. The user has age, which is, let's say, 25. Good. Then we can describe the user email also. We can say joseph@gmail.com. So like this we have created the user object. So this is how to create an object. So the object we have created is the user object, and we also discussed last week that we can access the property of an object by using the dot notation, and I did an example like this, that's console.log can say my name is, then we can say user.name. So if we run this will print out my name is Joseph to the console. Okay, so it will print out my name is Joseph to the console. So it means that we're able to access user.name by using the dot notation. So we discussed that last week. So also we can access the user's age. You can access the user's age by saying user.age. You can say I am user.age years old. Excuse me. I am user.age years old. So the first line is printing my name is Joseph, while the second one is printing I am 25 years old. So we're able to access that 25 by using user.age. So we can also print the email similarly, console.log email. My email is, remember this what's it called, the $sign with the curly braces. What we are doing there is string interpolation. So we are accessing we are embedding user.name, user.age, user.email into a string. So but the point here is, how do we access our the properties in our user object? So that's the purpose of this, but we just have to apply from what we have done before. So I believe everyone should understand that. All right. So that is how to access the properties of the user. All right. Now let's say we want to change something. Let's say we want to change the user's age. So we can still use dot notation. So what we'll just do will be user.age is equal to, let's say Joseph is now 27 years old. Let's say the 25 was a mistake, so it will be user.age is equal to 27. So you can confirm. So if you console.log user.age. Now when you run this, it will print out 27, so it means that the value here has been updated to this. So if you look at the console on the right hand side, you'll see that the new value has been printed out. So the user is 27 years old. All right, so another thing we can do is that we can add a new property. Remember, inside this user object, what we have here is we have only name, we have age and email. So we can add a new property to it. And how do we add a new property to it? I told you about accessing property, I told you about updating a property, and we said we can do that by using the dot notation. So with the dot notation also, we can add a new property. So we can say user.country. Remember, when we created the object, there is no country there, so we can say user.country is equal to Nigeria. So automatically Nigeria will be added to the user object. Now let's see if the country has been added. So let's just print our own user object, our entire user object. Let's just print it. So if you run this, if you notice here, country has been added to it, and in the original user object, country was not there. So that is how you add a new property to the user object. That's how you add a new property to the user object. So we have added country. Can you see on the right hand side here? Country is Nigeria. And another thing we talked about last week is how do we delete a property? Let's say we want to delete a property. Let's say we don't want age to appear in the user object. So how do we delete? How do we remove it? We'll just simply say we use the delete operator. So this will be delete user.email or delete user.age. Let's say it's age we want to remove. So delete user.age. So by the time JavaScript gets to line 9 here, the age property would have been removed. So if you try to do anything using the age, you see that it will write undefined because age no longer appears. Age no longer exists in the user object. So user.age, if you run it, it will show undefined. Good. So that is that about objects. So we have talked about creating an object, accessing the property, updating the property, adding a new property, and deleting the property. All right.